Okay. Hi, my name is Alex Filipputi, and I'm here on January 15th to answer some questions about the disparities in healthcare for Indigenous people.
My first question for you today is what systemic barriers continue to prevent equal healthcare access for Indigenous communities in Canada?
Well, some of the barriers, as I understand it, just pick it up from there. So, some of the disparities, I think, that are present are things like just the lack of infrastructure, right? I know there aren't a lot of hospitals outside of major cities, and many Indigenous people live outside of cities. I think it's probably also a funding issue, right? There needs to be more money for healthcare in general.
Yeah.
And also, from what I've read of experiences of Indigenous people with healthcare systems, they often have negative experiences, or where they're not sort of listened to or trusted, or they're treated like they're have done something wrong by coming to the hospital. So
Yeah.
I think those are probably three big reasons why.
Of course, thank you. My next question is how can the traditional Indigenous knowledge and medicine be integrated into modern healthcare systems to improve results?
Um, I think probably it has to start with education of future doctors. They probably would need to learn about some of that traditional medicine and approaches in medical school, I think, to become comfortable with it. And I suppose you would have to obviously get the input of the traditional practitioners of that, right? So the Indigenous people who practice that, they'd have to be involved as well. I don't know a lot about Indigenous medicine, I'd say, but I think a lot of it focuses on the whole person instead of just the symptoms, and that's probably a perspective that modern medicine could use.
Okay, thank you. My last question for you today, and it's a little big, but what actionable steps can the Canadian government, in collaboration with Indigenous communities, take to address and reduce the significant health disparities between Indigenous and non-Indigenous populations to ensure equal access to healthcare services and promote long-term health equity across the country?
Okay. Yeah, that is, I guess, a big question. A lot of it, I think, probably has to do with money, right? There has to be money for hospitals, training, things like that. And I suppose education is the other part of it, where, I guess both sides, if you want to call it that, the government and the Indigenous communities need to sort of have a common understanding of what they want to get out of healthcare. Is it just sort of physical healthcare? Is it mental support? Is it spiritual? Is there a spiritual side to it?
Of course.
And I think, yeah, it's a big question. I guess, you want to have input from as many people as possible from the Indigenous communities, and maybe see if there are traditional models of healthcare that could be worked into modern healthcare settings. Because it's difficult, I guess, sometimes to combine two different worlds, but I think it could probably be done with enough effort.
Okay, thank you so much for your time today. This is the end of the interview, and
Okay,
yeah.
thank you very much.